The Green is the next station, and between here and there, we'll turn northeast again to travel up the north side of the Esk Valley along the edge of the saddle which separates us from the valley of the River Mite. The end of the Urton Road loop approaches, and again we can see how the spring-loaded points move to allow us through. As we bend to the right, Birkerfell is behind the trees, and up there is Devokewater, one of the most westerly of the lakes. Although its name describes it as a water, it's actually the largest of the Lake District tarns. Tarns were formed by glaciers and take the shape of an amphitheatre, often with three of the sides composed of steep slopes where an amphitheatre seating would be. The fourth side, the lip, can be formed by a moraine. That's the detritus that's been pushed ahead of the glacier as it moves along, scraping up rocks and soil from the surface. Urton Road behind us was originally called Hollowstones after a nearby farm. The Green, which we'll reach in 3 minutes, was originally called the King of Prussia after the local pub. Both served the village of Eskdale Green. There was once a siding at the Green, but it was removed in 1960, and the present station building, very obviously different from the one we just left, was constructed in 1965. There's a lone spectator on the left watching us as we pass Long Yocking Crossing. Ahead of us is Long Yocking Corner, and although Yocking is laughing, there's nothing recorded to suggest that this area is so called because someone once laughed long and loud here. However, the last crossing we passed was Tom's Crossing, so is there some connection with the Muncaster Castle jester Tom Fool? Well, we can only really guess. However, what is true is that this part of the line has more than one eccentric place name. Just past Long Yocking Corner, we'll encounter the Chicken Run. We're a minute away from the Green, and the River Esk is now 200 yards to our right. And although we'll be travelling up its valley to Delgarth, we won't ever cross it. Instead, we'll pass over Whillen Beck, one of its tributaries, just before we arrive at our destination. Soon the valley will begin to narrow as the fells to the south of us close in, and we'll have some beautiful views ahead. The Lake District mountains attract more than their fair share of rain at times, but today we can enjoy the view under clear blue skies and let our imagination conjure up the heat of the day. We're slowing now for the Eskdale Green level crossing, and the station is just beyond. Trains and cars don't mix well, and level crossings are one of the weak points of any railway system. So there's a 5-mile-an-hour limit as we make our way across. The station at the Green is constricted by the landscape and lacks the passing loop we saw back at Urton Road, so only one train at a time can be on the platform. But it's probably the most substantial of the stations and halts we've passed so far, with a wide, well-surfaced platform area for passengers to use. At the far end, we can see the 1960s station building, complete with a shelter for those who aren't impervious to the occasional shower. Our slow approach speed over the level crossing means it takes a while for the train to reach the end of the long platform. But eventually the driver applies the brakes to bring us to a halt. In keeping with its substantial construction, the Green is a popular station, and there's a fair bit of movement back down the train as passengers unwind themselves from the carriages and prepare for a day's walking. We're travelling on the second train of the day, and it's an ideal service for those wanting to explore the beauty of the Eskdale Valley on foot, whether they intend to walk back to Ravenglass or return to a station to link up with a train later in the day. While he waits for the passengers to sort themselves out, the driver continues his rehydration program in preparation for a signal to proceed from the guard. Eventually it comes, and with a toot on the whistle to announce our intentions, it's off with the brakes and back on with the power to continue our journey to Delgarth. As we leave the green, we pass under the Eskdale Valley Road. For much of the trip so far, we've been where roads don't go. But from now on, the Valley Road parallels our route and won't ever be far away. The next halt on the line is Fisher Ground, where there's a large campsite. That's 5 minutes away, though we won't be stopping there today. Between here and there, we've 2 steep climbs, one of 1 in 43 just ahead, and one of 1 in 55, and another loop. The incline marker and the 5-mile marker are on the left just before Hollin Bridge, and there's a small audience on top of the bridge awaiting our arrival. The group gets a friendly wave from the driver as we pass by.